Good morning, Year 1, and welcome to your final session of maths for this week. Today we're going to carry on with our learning about time. For today, we're going to read, write, and show the time to the hour and the half an hour, using words like o'clock and half past. We're also going to carry on comparing and ordering events using those words before, after, earlier and later. So let's get started. I have a warm-up activity for you to try today. Have a look at these activities on the screen, and I wonder if you can sort them into the times of day we do these activities. The ones we do in the morning, that's usually when we've woken up. The ones we do in the afternoon, around the middle of the day. And the ones we do in the evening, this is often when it gets a little bit darker, at the end of the day. Are there any of the activities that might belong to more than one time of the day? And when you've sorted them, could you add another activity that you do at each time of the day to each group? You need to pause the video to have a go at this. Please spend as long or as little amount of time as you need. Now that you've ordered them like I have and sorted them, I have another challenge for you. I've said in the morning I would do these activities. I'd eat my breakfast in the morning, I'd go to school in the morning, and I would wake up in the morning. In the afternoon I'd eat lunch, I'd play, I'd come home from school. And in the evening I'd go to bed, brush my teeth and read a bedtime story. But this isn't the order I would do each thing in. Now I'd like you to look at each group and put the events in order. The first thing I would do in the morning is wake up. The next thing I would do would be to eat my breakfast, and the last thing I would do on that list would be to go to school. I then want you to use the words earlier, later, before and after to compare the time you do each activity. I'm going to focus on eating breakfast. I'm going to use that first word, earlier. I eat breakfast earlier than the time I go to school. Now I'll use the word later. I eat breakfast later than the time I wake up. Now I'm going to use the word before. I eat breakfast before I go to school. And finally the word after. I eat breakfast after I wake up. Can you order your events in each group and then use those words to compare when you do them? Again, you'll need to pause the video here and spend as long or as little amount of time as you need. Then we'll move on to today's time learning. On my screen, you can see a clock. I wonder if you can use some of the key words written around the clock to tell somebody what you know about it. Hour hand, o'clock, face, minute hand, round, and half past. Can you use some of those words to talk to somebody about at home about everything you know about a clock? Pause the video to do this. Some of the things I know is that a clock is round, and this clock, the round part, I would call it a face. On a clock face, I have an hour hand. This is the shorter hand because hour is a slightly shorter word. That's how I remember. I also have a minute hand, which is slightly longer. That tells me how many minutes the time is showing. At o'clock, I know the long hand, the minute hand, points to the 12. And at half past, the short hand, the hour hand, points to the 6. Did you tell your adult any of those things that I've just said? Fantastic! Let's remind ourselves about how to tell the time. Remember, when we tell the time, we are always looking at the hours and the minutes. This is the hour hand. It's the shortest hand on the clock. Remember, I said I remember that it's the hour hand because hour is a shorter word than minute, so it's the shorter hand. This is the minute hand. It is longer than the hour hand. When the minute hand is pointing to the 12, it shows a full hour. The time is something o'clock. On this clock, the hour hand is pointing at the 8. The minute hand is pointing at the 12. So this must say 8 o'clock. It's the 8th hour and the minute hand is pointing to o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. We're now going to have a look at what time it might be on the other clock faces. Here we can see the minute hand is pointing to the 12. Where is the hour hand pointing? That's right, at the 7. It's something o'clock. What time is it here? That's right, it must be 7 o'clock. It is 7 o'clock. Can you have a go at reading the time on the screen? Perhaps you need to pause the video and explain to your adult how you know. This time is 3 o'clock. We know it's 3 o'clock because the minute hand is pointing to the 12. This means o'clock. And the hour hand is pointing to the 3. It must be 3 o'clock. What time is this one here? Good job. This is 11 o'clock. Why is it 11 o'clock? How do you know? The minute hand is pointing to the 12, which means o'clock. The hour hand is pointing to the 11. Good job. What time must this be? Yes, it's 6 o'clock. It's the 6th hour and the minute hand is pointing to the 12. What about this time here? You are doing a fantastic job at reading the time. That's right, it's 9 o'clock here. What time must this be? Both hands are pointing to the 12. It's the same thing, good job. The minute hand's pointing to the 12, so it's something o'clock. The hour hand is also pointing to the 12, so it must be 12 o'clock. Good job. Do you know here which clock is showing 2 o'clock? Can you point to the right one? I'm going to listen out and hear what I hear the most. I can hear lots of you saying this one. Fantastic! We know that's 2 o'clock because the minute hand is on the 12, the hour hand's pointing to the 2. Which of these clocks shows 4 o'clock? Is it this one? No, that's 10 o'clock. Is it this one? Oh no, that's 9 o'clock. What about this one? Yes, that says 4 o'clock. How do we know it's 4 o'clock? Well, we know because the hour hand points to the 4, the minute hand points to the 12. Can you find 10 o'clock on the screen? That's right, it's the middle clock here. Which one is showing us 3 o'clock? Is it this one? No. What time is that? Oh, that's 8 o'clock. Is it this one? Fantastic. This is 3 o'clock. The hour hand points to the 12, minute hand, points to the 12, and the hour hand points to the 3. When we're telling the time, We can also read the time to half past. I wonder, do you know where the minute hand on the clock points at half past the hour? If you're not sure, you will know by the end of this video. A clock face is one circle and it's made up of two halves. Here's one half of the circle. Here's another half of the circle. There are 30 minutes in half of an hour. When the minute hand moves halfway around the clock face, we call it half past. That means the minute hand will be pointing to the 6. When the minute hand points to the 12, it's o'clock. When it points to the 6, it's half past. Can you say that with me? 12 means o'clock. 6 means half past. Let's say it one more time. 12 means o'clock. 6 means half past. Only for the minute hand. Let's look at this time. The long hand, the minute hand is pointing to the 6. We know this means half past. The shorter hand is pointing halfway between the 1 and the 2. It's still in the first hour. It hasn't quite reached the second hour. It's halfway past the 1. It must be half past 1. What time might this clock be showing? The minute hand is pointing to the 6. It's moved halfway round the clock, so it is half past something. Is it halfway past the 11 or halfway past the 12? That's right, it's halfway past the 11, so it must be half past 11. The big hand is pointing to the 6. The little hand or the shorter hand is pointing halfway between the 11 and the 12. It must be half past 11. What time is this clock showing? It must be half past 3. The long hand is pointing to the 6. The shorter hand is pointing between the 3 and the 4. Which clock is showing half past 2? Is this one half past 2? Oh no, that's half past 9. It's halfway past the 9th hour. Is this one half past 2? No, this is half past 7. It is halfway past the 7th hour. What about this one? There it is. This one says half past 2. It's half past because the minute hand is pointing to the 6. But it's half past 2 because the hour hand is just past the 2 on its way to the 3. It's halfway there. Which clock is showing half past 9? We know it can't be this one. We've already looked at it. Which of these two shows half past 9? Good job. It's this one here. The minute hand is on the 6. The hour hand is halfway between the 9 and the 10. And which one is showing half past 7? Well, it must be the middle one. But why? Can you tell somebody at home why that shows half past 7? Yes, the minute hand is pointing to the 6. And the hour hand, the shorter hand, is halfway between the 7 and the 8. That is why it's half past 7. For today's learning, I'd like you to practice telling the time. Your first worksheet today is all about reading the time to the hour using o'clock. I know we often find this one a little bit simpler. Your second worksheet is about practicing your time to half past. You can then show off how much you understand about reading the time by trying some mastery challenges. The first set are about the time to o'clock. You need to read the times. You need to draw the times here, and then even reason and explain about the times on this page. Then you have some activities to do for half past. This will be more challenging. Again, reading the times, justifying and explaining, and then there's an extra challenge here at the end. If you'd like a fun way to practice telling the time, here is a board game that you could print or even remake yourself at home. Rolling a dice and practicing reading the times that you land on. There's a mixture of o'clock times and half past times to really challenge you here. Remember, you can always send any of your home learning to us at our Key Stage 1 email address. And then next week, I'll give you some follow-on activities to try at home, still practicing your learning about time. Have a wonderful weekend, Year 1, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, and bye-bye.